If you think that earning money is the only goal, you will end up doing things every day that you don't like doing to earn money and to live a life doing things you don't like. It's such a ridiculous thing to do.
Nearly 200,000 people arrive in Australia every year as migrants. 1/3 of the small businesses are owned by migrants. We wanted to find out what makes them do what they do. What is their motivation? What challenges do they face? And after all these systemic odds and hassles, is it really worth it?
I think it takes a certain kind of person who's got a real tolerance for risk to be an entrepreneur, or just kind of really wants to have that, to own their own narrative.
Everything around you, look around you. Every single thing that you're wearing, every single piece of furniture around you, every single building around you, they're all been made by entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs are nothing but creators, right? So we need creators in this world because only people who create can make the world a better place.
Entrepreneur is a very different animal, I would say. Someone who thinks differently, someone who sees the world differently. As an entrepreneur, you will have a very unique way of looking at things.
Melbourne has one of the most vibrant multicultural communities in Australia, and we were about to meet 4 entrepreneurs to hear their stories.
One day my boss told me, like, stop everything. Come with me. You need to understand why we do what we do. She brought me to this beach cleanup, but the organizers actually didn't want to call it a cleanup. It was a beach audit. True enough, an hour after we cleaned the beach, it was dirty again. You know, that's when it hit me how big this problem of packaging waste was. Ultimately, I came here with a huge mission, which was to figure out a solution to this packaging waste problem.
I think it was sometime in 2018 when, like everybody else, I was in a 9-to-5, still dancing, but under my guru, but always wanting to understand how I can do something more than this. I was trying to find more purpose in life.
For me to pursue entrepreneurship was always a one-point decision. I see the possibilities when it comes to entrepreneurship and something that really keeps me awake, in a good way.
But only if it is that simple. There is no doubt about entrepreneurs having to start from zero, but being a migrant entrepreneur often means you have to begin below zero.
A number of people I've met, including myself, we have to start from scratch. Nobody knows nothing. It's like you're born again.
I mean, in terms of challenges as a migrant founder, I think a very direct one is that the migrant journey is designed for employees.
The barriers to entry are hard enough for entrepreneurs. It's a really hard. It's really hard to have success as an entrepreneur, let alone if you're a migrant. You're already, you've got language barriers. You're potentially tackling a little bit of xenophobia, which still probably exists in Australia.
I was raised with 2 sisters, so I've technically had 3 mothers, so even at my home, if I want to drink a water, I'll just say I want to drink water and it's just being served to me, and here I am mopping a floor in a foreign world, and particularly you feel people are walking in with their suits and everything, because I was in a CBD district and near Collins Street, so some of your community people as well, very well dressed up, and they come through and you feel, I was just embarrassed to do that kind of work,
I mean, I came over here from England 8 years ago. I was a lawyer back in the UK and a captain in the British Army, and I ended up picking fruit, doing door-to-door sales because I had to start from the beginning, almost. And so for entrepreneurs, I think that's why a lot of migrants come into the country get drawn into entrepreneurship, because you can go and build something yourself, and you can kind of own your own narrative. Whereas if you want to try drop into the job landscape, you kind of got to reset.
I think having the willingness to just talk and open in front of us, that would be the first thing. So Again, in our business, we are not selling a product, you go and just do a transaction. Ours is a relationship business. Before we do business, people need to know us, people need to like us, and then people need to trust us before any business happens. Just having that opportunity for people to open up is not that straightforward.
One of the challenges as a business owner was that acceptance. I think I found that journey a bit challenging because just like anybody else, you always want to be accepted. You've got to get the trust of the people. So that took a while because it's not just the clients that we're talking about, it's also the community. So re-establishing myself back in that landscape was challenging.
It's like sometimes we feel that we get more criticized or analyzed by our own race.
Social challenges may be a subjective problem, but financial support is very much an objective issue. Disparities are still persistent. The overall system needs many changes to make it supportive for entrepreneurs.
For example, before 2021, the rules for visas for entrepreneurs were so impractical that my migration agent told me that I was naive and ridiculous for even thinking about startup. Actually, he said, don't waste your time, because the whole system wouldn't benefit it.
So I'm really close to a founder at the minute. She is a first-generation migrant from the Philippines. So her family moved here, I think 30, 40 years ago. And you know, she was born here, but is really facing that, that challenge as both a female and as a migrant and a person of colour in terms of starting her business. So she's currently fundraising and finding all that kind of unconscious bias is really impacting her journey as an entrepreneur. And I think for her, it's, you know, there's so much work around that diversity space in terms of gender, which is amazing. It needs to change the dial. But she thinks that for her personally, it's the bigger challenge is not being a woman, it's her background in terms of where she's from.
A big challenge for us right now is financial support. It's been a struggle trying to get funding.
Even though there are those systems that technically exist,
Yeah.
does that work?
It's a good question that does it work? Because it works, which means does funding happen? Yes, funding happens, but it's who does the funding go to, right? And where do people actually get the information, or where do they get the support?
This year, funding in terms of investment into female-founded businesses was 2% of overall funding. Now, at Startup Victoria, our membership is 42% female. And we're generally a very early stage organisation because that's when founders need the most community. So how does 42% translate to 2% of the funding? There's obviously somewhere where there's a huge disparity happening.
It is a brave thing to start a business. But just because you are good at something does not mean you will be good at running the business.
One of the things I think most founders don't do is really understand why they're building a business. If you understand the why behind your building a business, it becomes really apparent to you what you want to do and what you want out of it.
Quite regularly see brilliant people with awesome ideas, great innovators, but they don't have the commercial background in terms of how to do business. Those areas especially, we see a lot of people who struggle to commercialize their business and actually make it successful beyond the idea stage.
In order to maintain the right balance between goals, risks and opportunities, having a realistic mindset is necessary.
I think there are two sides to the coin when it comes to migrants. They've actually gone ahead and proven that they're resilient, they're adaptable. So these are all qualities of a great entrepreneur anyway, right? So they've already got these qualities. They've proven these qualities already.
We tend to overestimate the negative impact of what could be, and we totally forget or maybe underestimate what good that can do. And so when we tell this story that if I take the plunge, if I do something on my own, I have more negative insights into me than the positive ones. And that sort of makes me do wrong thing because I'm not taking a balanced view.
This is one thing that I kept telling myself, and this is what a wise man told me, and that wise man is actually my husband. He said to me, there is an audience for Madonna, there is an audience for Beyonce, there is an audience for Taylor Swift. There will be an audience for Chandralaya. And that's something that really stuck to me because not everybody gets attracted to what you're offering.
While the right mindset is essential, personal drive often acts as fuel. Because although discipline can keep you going, only emotions give you that kickstart.
It's almost like you got a chip on your shoulder because in two ways. One is you want to prove to the host country and you want to prove that you can do something. The second part is you left your parent country. People have different expectations. Maybe you have told them why you're leaving and maybe what you're doing here is not what you told them why you're leaving. So you also have a point to prove to them.
Because when I was in uni, I used to walk 2.5 kilometers to buy my groceries and walk back with all the groceries because that way I can save money on ticket because I can use that money towards buying groceries because there were times I had no money to eat food.
And one of my biggest influences is my mother, or was my mother, still is my mother. In 2018, when I decided to take the plunge, I got this very bad news that my mum was diagnosed with breast cancer. And that really pushed me back. So I started to embark on this journey of starting the school, and I named it after her. Little did I knew that I was going to lose my mother that very same year. So that was one of the worst emotional journeys I have felt in my life because this was a tribute to her, and I wanted her to see it while she was alive, and sadly she couldn't. But I know every day she's up above looking and really loving this journey that I've created for myself and for others. And it's been such a gratifying experience because if not for her, this wouldn't have happened. Yeah, I'm completely gratified. I think it's one of the best things I've done for me, for my family. And I feel I'm doing this, it's a purpose, it's a very strong purpose that I've got. Sorry, it's just... No, it's okay.
While there are strong reasons for their entrepreneurial journey, not everyone is inclined to become a unicorn. The story of multinationals and unicorns is also the story of the rise in economic inequality, monopolies, and consolidation. Entrepreneurship is fundamental to a truly democratic society. The unicorn narrative needs to change.
Yeah, I think that the unicorn narrative is really damaging. We meet a lot of founders that have, or entrepreneurs that have an idea, and they start to come into the ecosystem and they straight away think there's either failure or becoming a unicorn. And they're the only two options.
Being a unicorn, I think, has been become a fashion now. There's a lot of things that go into these aspects. And so being tied to that dream of a unicorn or a decacorn, I think makes it very difficult for people to really see what success means. So defining your success at the very start is important, and then sort of thinking about what is making it big for you really look like.
I think there's a necessity for more education in what it is to define success for you and how to have a good, strong business without trying to reach too high and falling over.
Like, there are lots of unicorns out there that have still yet to show how to make profit even many years into it. And as Shimroth was saying, they burn so much supposedly to create value, but if the value that they create is kind of questionable.
Something that's important to us is growing sustainably. And obviously we want to make money and we want to be successful, but at the same time, we want our sustainable impact to be tied to our bottom line. So that's something that's important as we scale.
There are startups and small businesses which are not just about making a profit. Their definition of success is different. It is equitable. It is inclusive.
Collaborating with art organizations to create meaningful conversations about social, economic issues through art, giving out really strong messaging. That is success to me. And at the end of the day, success to me is, am I fulfilled? Is my purpose here fulfilled?
So everything I do is with people I love, people I care for, and so to me, all of that needs a significant hard work, so but while that is success, but it's continuous journey, and I always say people need to have something that they are really chasing. And for me, my big thing that I'm chasing is always to be better tomorrow than I was yesterday. And for that, I need to work today.
It's not always you have to be a unicorn. You can be a zebra company if you want to. It's a small business, sustainable business. Because at the end of the day, I think when you look at the failure and fear of it, define what is failure for you, define what is success for you. If your business is contributing something in society, if it is making people's life better, you're a success. If you're contributing in someone else's dream to make them happen, that's a success. If you're contributing towards sustainability, doing something for a larger ecosystem, it's a success.
I think personally I've grown massively in a mental capacity. I look at life so differently now. It's not a 9 to 5 anymore. It's a 24/7 of how to, and 24/7 in a very happy way. I'm not cornering myself and saying, oh my God, I don't know what I'm doing. No, oh my God, what is the next thing we could do to empower these people? How can I inject more cultural diversity here? All the setbacks, the failures, the emotional dramas, all of that has really fine-tuned me as a person, as an artist, as a teacher, as an entrepreneur. The conversations, the relationships, I would any day cherish all of that.
When we ask a lot of entrepreneurs, same question, like, you have gone through so many hassles, so many low moments, high moments. What do you think, whether it was worth it?
Very interesting question, because from my experience, like throughout every milestone in this journey, whether zero tag will play out in terms, financially, that's something we'd have to see. I do know that I've made my life so much harder by trying to do something new. If we can do that, right, I'm just like, then definitely be super worth it.
Yes, I mean, definitely. I feel this journey, irrespective of what the outcome is, I've learned a lot.
When you're going through something, you feel all the pain in the world. I know the price I have paid for it. Without that, I wouldn't have what I have. But when I look back, it is worth it.
Oh, 100%, 100%. Absolutely.
One day my boss told me, like, stop everything. Then I was like, what's up? Then she was like, okay, come with me. You need to understand why we do what we do. She brought me to this beach cleanup, but the organizers actually didn't want to call it a cleanup. It was a beach audit. There was a huge study being conducted. They needed to survey the marine litter, and an hour after we cleaned the beach, it was dirty again. And you could see the plastic rolling with the waves. And, what was crazy was that people were fishing there. The idea of just even how you fish, just putting a string and then suddenly getting a fish, it's just kind of like magic. But now, what if the environment was filled with plastic? Like, how could we even get food? That's when it hit me how big this problem of packaging waste was. Ultimately, I came here with a huge mission, which was to figure out a solution to this packaging waste problem. I'm Joseph. I'm co-founder of ZeroTag.
My name is Shimroth John Thomas, and I am the co-founder of ZeroTag. We are in the business of designing technology for sustainability, and we are trying to make refill shopping mainstream.
You know, my background's more in like engineering and design. When I was in high school, I was a painter, so yeah.
That is a question which it's always changing, as in I have a very multidisciplinary background. So worked as an architect for a while, then mainly worked as a photographer as well, and photographer and a filmmaker. Moved on to design and everything in the design field as well, from branding to UI, user interaction design, things like that. After doing my master's, it's been more of looking at new biomaterials, and now, yeah, ZeroTag's a culmination of all of those sort of learnings.
Weirdly, I didn't want to study art because I felt that I wanted to see more of the world. If I went into art, I would have learned more about how to create stuff, but then I wanted to see the world more and maybe even change the world.
When I was studying architecture and working as an architect as well, I found, that a lot of the existing construction materials in the market were highly unsustainable.
While in uni, I started creating this affinity with the homewares industry in the Philippines. Part of that was, I got matched with a homewares company somewhere in a different island of the Philippines that focused on sustainable materials. And that's actually where my journey into sustainability started.
Okay, hello and welcome to Manapla. You are currently at Hacienda Crafts. I am currently at Hacienda Crafts.
There's just something about sharing coast and realizing how connected everyone is. So even, for example, like at that beach cleanup, some of the packaging we found there had like foreign languages on it. And it made me wonder, like, how far did this plastic, drift? And then realizing how everyone is connected by water. Just think of packaging. Packaging is such a complicated thing where it's like, it's functional until you're finished with the food. So there's that, just like realizing this is a huge problem, and I'm in this unique position to do something about it by having that background in materials, that background in industrial design, and even the whole art thing. Like, maybe I can do something about it. So I needed to learn more about technology. So technology was one of my weaknesses, I think, like something I knew nothing about and that the Philippines was not ready to teach me. So that's why I came to Melbourne. I took my Master's of Design, Innovation, Technology at RMIT. I had this class, and this is where I met Shimroth, all about, sustainability, biodesign, and then we're looking at biopolymers and all that. Basically, we came up with this project that involved this reusable packaging for wine. And then I started going to places outside of the classroom. And that's also started our entrepreneurial journey.
We wanted to try to tackle packaging waste, and looking at the Australian context, we found that a huge waste generator in Victoria was actually the wine industry. We initially wanted to go down that path of creating a new material, but we realized that's going to be really expensive. That's when we realized, maybe we can focus on the reuse angle and try to use that label system that we thought of to scale it across the food manufacturing sector and create a software which can help tackle this issue. our journey started with wine, where we created the reusable bioplastic packaging made from wine waste. And that's where we actually learned about the importance of labels and digital labels. We realized that that concept could be carried forward into other food products.
We tried different ways to validate. You know, I'd do things like have a house party or even like my birthday and then have people over, and then little do they know is that, you know, I might have, let's say, wine that was actually from a refillable wine place, and seeing how people reacted. For example, when it came to, let's say, you know, there was this one day I brought this huge bottle of beer. At the end of the night, nobody touched it. I was like, oh, okay, interesting. And then, so I asked like the people who are still around, hey guys, like, you have like a huge bottle of Moondog beer here? And they're like, oh, Moondog beer, I love Moondog beer. Yeah, there's like a whole bottle of Ice Bucket. And then they're like, oh, that thing, like, to be honest, it looks sus. That's when I realized how, you know, something like branding, which is usually like a huge function of these artworks, was also important in driving consumer confidence.
Something that was missing in the shopping experience was the actual artwork, as well as the stories of the wine and why people would spend $30 on a bottle which has no name or no label. So we wanted, with our solution in ZeroTag, we could communicate that information in a really visual manner. With milk, it was more about expiry dates. So after speaking to a lot of people and customer like millennials and millennial parents, we realized that a big common problem that they all faced was they would forget their milk and it would go spoiled. And something that we thought could really help them was sending them notifications and reminders to help them avoid this problem.
And they're like, oh yeah, these are the ones that have the most problems. It's like, okay. So, you know, we just wanted to solve a problem.
So yeah, like store owners that, you know, have like bulk food stores, cafe owners that are promoting sustainable products, and other refill sort of dispensaries. They've been the businesses we've been talking to.
Hey, Chirag, how are you?
How are you? Cheers again.
Yeah, you too. It's been a while. I'm Luke Phillips. We're here at Into Coffee / Into Carry. We're a zero waste cafe and an upcycling design studio. And we've recently got ZeroTag on board at Into Coffee, which we're really excited about. Being zero waste, we have takeaway milk, takeaway coffee beans, obviously takeaway coffee. So having a better, more transparent and reliable system around that is really exciting. ZeroTag's providing that for us. Trying to reduce friction points and make reusable containers an enjoyable experience. And the big barrier for that is challenging convenience culture. And they're doing a really amazing job at really reducing those friction points and making it a really pleasurable experience, start to end. We opened up partly because we recognise that there's an amazing community around the local area that are working to solve these sustainability problems. And we wanted to build a hub to bring those people together, but also use that hub as a bit of a laboratory to trial out.
Single-use plastics like straws, plates, cutlery and cotton bud sticks will be banned from retail in Victoria from February the 1st.
Single-use plastics make up about a third of our waste.
But most kinds of disposable drink cups and lids are exempt. Disposable cups and lids have plastic elements to make them waterproof. That's why more than 1 billion still end up in landfill nationally each year.
So let's say, look, this is a paper cup. As you can see, it actually has a plastic lining on it. Well, how do you think that paper was supposed to be holding liquids anyway? And then you think of your coffee cup, moisture, it's like it's hot and also has liquids. That's like the perfect recipe to start biodegradation. How do you think it would work to begin with? Like, I think that we're actually so far from creating that ideal sustainable packaging that will solve all the problems. And for us, like reuse is the one that makes the most sense and from a sustainability perspective. My background's in materials engineering, and something that I'm quite frustrated about is how, even in engineering, how sustainability is talked about. I had to like learn that sustainability it's not a material property. It's contextual. It's about systems. Let's say, oh, we have compostable plastic, right? And then there was like a way that they defined compostable, and then like, oh, okay, check mark. And then so if it checks this box, then must be sustainable. And then turns out that, well, the system for it to compost was actually highly unlikely to ever happen. In reality, it still produced microplastics that still harmed the environment. But if you're like in marketing, right, and then this is what the engineers are saying, then it's like, okay, then I'll just promote this as a green material. And now you have so much pessimism of greenwashing. So we're hoping to simplify that by saying, you know what, how about you just reuse and we'll take care of the rest. Whether zero tag will play out financially, that's something we'd have to see. Right now, I've designed it so that it will, and also designed it so that its sustainable impact will scale as well. If we can do that, right, I'm just like, then definitely be super worth it.
Over the last few decades, single-use plastics have become the norm, and it's just more convenient. And that's just made life easier for everyone. But at the same time, if you want to change those habits, you need to create a new system which can make life easier for everyone. And to do that, you need to be able to, as a designer, look at things from different perspectives. It's not just about creating a product. It's about understanding what each stakeholder sort of wants.
I understand why actually this problem is so hard. What I don't agree with is going complete activist mode and saying, well, this problem of waste is because of people don't care enough. Seeing the other side of things as well. You can have people that care, but just nobody has a solution. And sometimes someone has to come up with a good enough solution. And that's where I feel like my whole responsibility is. Because I mentioned, like, my background is so unique. And I feel like this is that unique perspective I can give to the world. There's just something about creating also that can just shut people up about problems and just say, look, this is possible.
One of the biggest risks people take is when they get on the plane, leave the country and the comfort and their family behind to start everything new in a new world, in a new city, new country where probably they don't even know anyone. That is the biggest risk one takes in their life. But as they come in, as they start settling down, they start forgetting their dream. When I landed here in 2006, that was a dream. That was a dream for me, my family. No one in my mom or dad sides of family has ever gone out of the city. I was the first person in the whole family to ever get on the plane and leave the country. My name is Chirag Soni. I'm a founder and director of Soni Wealth. I'm from western part of India, a city called Ahmedabad. So growing up as a child, I was very shy and I was very much in my own cocoon. One thing was very important was I get to play my, cricket after school every day. That was my big thing. On my 11th birthday, my parents gifted me my most expensive toy at that point in time, which was 400 rupees, roughly. If I put a dollar value, that's $8. I was always watching Grand Prix and Formula One sports on TV and everything. So cars was always my thing. So from that point on, I always thought that one day I want to own a Ferrari. That was sort of my dream. My toy car was a Ferrari that my parents gifted. I'm 37 now and I still have that toy car with me. My dad had a very small business. It was a small shop, 2x2 to 4 square meter space. That's where he worked all his life. I started counting cash at the age of 7. He started letting me go to the banks from the age of 8. So I was always involved in doing things. And I always wanted to do that. And he said, just focus on your studies for now, and when the time is right, you'll do that. But my entrepreneur journey really started when I turned 16. and I was really keen to do something, and that's when I started purchasing mobile phones, because it's pretty new. My dad gifted me one for my birthday, and that's where okay, it's something really great too, and it's the future. So I started buying some mobile phones and started selling them. When I turned 18, I got my first job. So I started working in a call center. I used to work for BSNL, which is a local, like Telstra here in Australia. So I worked in their call center, and then I moved up to work for Hutch, which is Vodafone now, and then 2 years I worked with Airtel. So I migrated here in 2006 as an international student. So when I was international student, I was doing telemarketing. And as soon as I got out of uni, within the first 3 months, I purchased my first property. My job was to call people and ask them what do they do for a living, how much is their income, how many properties they own. And every time I used to hear they have 2 properties or 3 properties and they've been here for 10 years, my ears used to go up. Wow, how can you do that? Because where I come from, people don't even own 1 property really. It's a big deal, and these people were doing so. It gave me something which I call a possibility, that it's possible. So I really wanted to pursue that, and I was very lucky enough to surround myself with the right people.
But your dad is so much into business, so much into inventing stuff. So there has to be those genes somewhere in you, right? That's all just surfacing.
No, I'm only the hardworking part. We got married officially a month ago, but we've been together for 9 years. And also, we work together. We have been working together for the past almost 5 years.
The key difference for our business is it's completely built around relationship. For us, our journey really starts with our clients when they, purchase the property.
Before we do business, people need to know us, people need to like us, and then people need to trust us before any business happens. So it is a much, much longer journey before we end up becoming as business partners or clients.
A lot of people I meet day to day, and they have a lot of dreams they talk about. And the key difference is when I ask them, are you really interested in achieving this dream? And are you committed to it? And most people are often interested, they're not committed to, they start getting too comfortable, with the job they have, with the income they're earning, with the house they're living in. I have clients who say, I would love to drive a Merc, but then somehow they get satisfied with Toyota. Nothing wrong with Toyota, but that was their dream, to drive a Merc, and along the way they just got kind of lost in that comfort zone that they give up.
It's mesmerizing, if you ask me when I was 16, do I know here I will be when I turn 38? I had no clue, All I knew that I want better things in life, I want to enjoy some of the finest experiences in life, and then how, never knew, never worried too much about the how, it's always the why, like I say, right? So because of that, I enjoy each phase of my life.
That was 2006 when I really got an idea, or from a friend who told me that, I can come here for further education. And that's when really it struck, okay, how is it possible? I can't really afford all this. And they said, you can work 20 hours here. And that when you work 20 hours, you can pay for your lifestyle. So all you need to organize is some money to pay for your tuition fees. And over the next 5 months, every single day, me and my parents, they tried everything, possible for me to get a visa. We had to go and ask people for help, and my dad was willing to do that. My dad is someone who has never really asked anyone for help, but he went to some of his clients, his friends, and say, look, my son wants to go overseas for study. He needs a sponsor. Can you please help and sponsor him for this, So that was the first time I saw my dad really getting out of his comfort zone. The moment I landed here, I knew that, okay, what is my main purpose? I came here, and one of the key things was I've seen my dad, the way he worked, and I wanted to ensure that I can help him to retire, in next 5 years. That was my key goal. I was coming from a corporate career, so I was quite successful in what I was doing before I landed in this city, but it wasn't the same. I thought I have all those badges with me, so I was very
happily showing my resumes with all my experience and everything, and I was like, I'll get a job very easy. It wasn't that easy. First job that I landed was working in a 7-Eleven, and I had to do 10 shifts on trial before they offered me a role for $10 an hour. And I used to cry because I have to mop the floor. I've never lifted a mop in my life. I was raised with 2 sisters, so I technically had 3 mothers, So even at my home, if I want to drink a water, I want to drink water, and it's just being served to me, and here I am mopping a floor in a foreign world, and particularly when you see some of your community people as well, very well dressed up, and they come through and you feel, I was just embarrassed to do that kind of work,
Then why did you stop?
Because I needed the money, I needed to work to earn money to buy food for myself. And I said, I need to keep pushing harder, because why am I here? What's my goal? And that's to retire my dad and pay for my tuition fees and punch forward.
He's good at getting out of his comfort zone. I feel in general, I'm someone that really likes to stay in the comfort zone. But with him, I guess he's come very far. So he's evolved over all these years by stepping out of his comfort zone.
As I kept progressing through all of those things, despite of how I was feeling, that gave me more opportunities, and so that's why I always say, when you are in your comfort zone, it's easy to hold on to what you know. It's easy to give up on your dreams, basically, but if you really know that this is what you want to do, you have to commit yourself to get out of the comfort zone. One of the key things I did when I established Soni Wealth was to create a platform where I can bring like-minded people who can taste what I have tasted, because it's possible, and that will also enable us to go and reach a lot of people who needs help doing that, which I thought when I'm doing a job, you kind of limit it to a task or a job that is assigned to you. It's often considered something very fancy in nowadays when people talk about entrepreneurship, but the reality is, being an entrepreneur is not an easy journey. To me, entrepreneurship is not an overnight thing. It is a lifelong thing, and you have to give in a lot before you can build something.
He reads, he watches inspirational clips, and also cooking shows, street food cooking shows. I find it funny that many boys that they would play video games or whatever to relax themselves in their spare time and all that. He watches cooking shows.
I always believe it's just not about hustling 24/7. You also need to learn to switch off. If you can't switch off, if you can't disengage yourself from everything that goes into your day, it becomes very hard to keep performing at your level best.
Say if I'm doing some housework at home, I would hear the background of people cooking in the wok and explaining what's to put in ingredient, and he's watching that as his therapy. So that's something he does as well.
Because being an entrepreneur, you have to give your 100%, or try your best to give your 100% every single day. And for you to do that, you have to learn. For me, my downtime is really enjoying a nice glass of whiskey, watching Bollywood movie, watching cricket, cooking, so I find time to do all of this throughout my day.
I showed a glimpse to Deepak and he doesn't remember. So
the topmost challenge for me in our business, having the right people, because a business is not built by the business owner, it is built by the team that they have. So finding the right key people to go with you on the journey is one of the biggest challenge. It was a long journey, so while I have a great team, but it's built over the last 10 years. One of the common quality that my team has is their genuine passion to help, and they're willing to go out of their way to make sure that things work.
Practice, you have to consciously make an effort to do this.
If there's no dream, what's the purpose? What's the purpose of life if you don't have a dream? And if you're not working towards something, what are you working towards? If you have a car, you have a nice, fanciest car, you know how to drive. Yes, you can get in the car, you can start your car, you can start driving. But if you don't know where you're going to, you'll get somewhere. But that might not be the place where you want to get. But if you have a dream, if you know your destination, this is where I want to get to, even though you face few hurdles like I faced this morning. I was trying to get in here and 3 of Ubers ditched me halfway through the journey, and then I had to pay a surge amount to get here, but I know I need to get here. And that's the same thing when you start visualizing your dreams, when you start working towards it, because you're working towards something anyways. You might as well work towards something that you want to really get to. Look, success to me is ongoing. It's a journey. It's not a destination. The life I live right now, to me, is a dream, but a dream that I visioned for. Where I live is where I visioned for 12 years ago I want to live. The person that I am living with, my partner, my wife, is the person that I always visioned to be by my side. The team that I have built, that I work every single day with, is a team that I visioned for, and my dream team. Everything I do is with people I love, people I care for, and so to me, all of that needs a significant hard work, but while that is success, but it's continuous journey. And I always say people need to have something that they are really chasing. And for me, my big thing that I'm chasing is always to be better tomorrow than I was yesterday. And for that, I need to work today.
My name is Deepa. I am the founder and the artistic director of Chandralaya, an Indian classical and modern contemporary school in Melbourne. The way I look at the business is it's an institution to impart this very empowering art form in the minds of both the young and the experienced. So if you were to learn a language, one needs to understand the ABCs, the alphabet, in order to be able to string a word and then a sentence and to be able to speak fluently. And that is very much how we look at dance, we look at Bharatanatyam, is understanding the nuances, the fundamental structure of the art. So Chandralaya focuses a lot on instilling that fundamentals in every student. Sometime in 2018, when, like everybody else, I was in a 9-to-5, if not more than 9-to-5 gigs in IT, still dancing, but under my guru, but always wanting to understand how I can do something more than this. The question in my mind started to get more and more strong because I was trying to find more purpose in life. And one of my biggest influences is my mother, or was my mother, still is my mother. In 2018, when I decided to decided to take the plunge, I got this very bad news that my mum was diagnosed with breast cancer. And that really pushed me back. And in a sense, the question of the bigger purpose in life started to occur a lot more frequent in my head. So I started to embark on this journey of starting this school, and I named it after her. Little did I knew that I was going to lose my mother that very same year. So that was one of the worst emotional journeys I have felt in my life, because this was a tribute to her, and I wanted her to see it while she was alive, and sadly she couldn't. Because she passed off in September, and I kind of started doing the background work sometime in May, June, and she couldn't be part of that. But I know every day she's up above looking and really loving this journey that I've created for myself and for others. And it's been such a gratifying experience, because if not for her, this wouldn't have happened. During COVID, there was a few adult students who wanted to pursue this, and we went online. Our curriculum ran online on Zoom for 2 years. It was twice a week, 2 hours training, like you're sweating, and that really changes the chemical balance in the body and creates a lot of endorphins to be generated.
As a health professional, scientifically it is proven, if you learn a new art form or any new thing in your life, your cognition will improve a lot.
When COVID cases were receding, and my mental position at that time was, I was very tired, very lethargic, not able to focus. And I think in some sense I had lost some purpose of life just because of the whole COVID environment and doing what's required in a dance class. I was slowly able to kind of transform myself.
And when we got our freedom back, bang, they were back in the studio.
Like, I'm traveling from NSW every week. Even though it is very challenging for me to travel from there to here, I however make this big sessions almost every week.
It's really fun. It calms me and helps me with fitness and stamina. I feel proud of myself because I've been dancing for a long time and I've gone this far.
So today, I feel so much, I look forward to these classes. However bad day I would have had during the week, every Friday there's this feeling of ecstasy that I have a class on Saturday and I want to come here and learn something new and be a better version of myself. I think that thought process really helps me in staying fit mentally and having very positive outlook towards life.
As students, both young and experienced, you know 2 + 2 is 4, 3 + 2 is 5, and you know the simple math. But one gets to apply that in dance. So we teach that in a sense as to how to render that beat. So rendering the beat has a few elements. There is a footwork that's primarily going to instigate the beat, because you're going to strike the foot on the floor to initiate the beat. But in order to understand that footwork, you need to understand what is the structure of the beat in the mind. And thirdly, you need to synchronize that beat structure, head to toe, and be able to move in a formation, and be able to express through your face. So all of this won't come into play if you're not able to work through that art of counting in your mind. And that actually enables your math concept at another level. This one's actually an inspiration when we had COVID, in the middle of COVID, and I have another kind of art that I pursue as part of my training, which is bridging, and that's something I got introduced back in the States. I know people say it's fusion, and we stay away from the word because everything is fusion these days. But bridging is very particular because it has 80-20 or a 70-30 percentage, where the prerequisite for that is Bharatanatyam, and it gets embellished with different costumes. Not necessarily the Bharatanatyam traditional one, and the music is very different. I think about bridging as a transition into contemporary. If you know an art, you could actually, and if you know the rhythm and the beats, you could pretty much dance to any tune. You know, I took the lyrics of the song and I just translate that into the nritya component of Bharatanatyam, which means facial expressions. And through that, we've done a lot more collaborations. We've done Bharatanatyam and hip hop. We've done a recent commission we've done with, this was very interesting, we did with the Maloya artists. Maloya is from the Reunion Island. That's an art that comes out of, that's a dance form that comes out of Reunion Island, which has a beautiful infusion of African, Chinese, Indian, and French cultures infused into it. So it was absolutely mesmerizing to bring in the Tamil culture and the African culture and the French culture, and we did a commission for 60 minutes, which was beautiful. When people start to relate to other cultures, they have better relationships, because the younger generation needs to understand they're going to be in a group of people from multiple ethnicities. They need to understand how to relate to each other, how to get along. So exposing them at an early age is only going to spark all of those beautiful conversations. There's a couple of students, or a few students at a very young age, you know, living in a country which doesn't majority represent themselves. The feeling of acceptance is very difficult for a young person, especially in a school environment. Learning this dance has helped them really reduce the anxiety and feel more confident about themselves.
Yeah, I like expressing myself through dance and through different hand gestures. Like this means like very scared or surprised. I would do this. That's how I would show my anger. With my friends, I show it my expressions as more lively and more happy, but sometimes I get like a little bit mad, so I can also show it through that. And then, yeah.
Without saying anything?
Yeah.
Did they understand?
Yes, they get the message.
All right. That's the right one.
It's character building. So it teaches you a lot more, because all of those art forms tap into a deeper sense of yourself, and they really help you during adverse times. When you're at the bottommost part of your life, art will help revive you. You have something to step and then climb up.
Well, for me, dancing is all about connection, and connection to three different things. Connection to the earth on which we strike and move on, connection to my culture, which I've learnt many lessons from, and connection to my body and like myself. I think also connection to my body is a very important aspect of dancing. I never would have thought this before I started dancing. Like, dancing has made me more in tune with myself and made me learn more about myself.
I don't see Chandralaya confined to South Asian diaspora. It has to expand beyond that, because we are in a very cultural environment, and collaboration is the key for the next how many ever years. So the more cultural communities collaborate, creating powerful art, and I see Chandralaya playing a front and center role in there, collaborating with art organizations to create meaningful conversations about social, economic issues through art. That is success to me. I feel that that sense of purpose is just heightening every time. The conversations, the relationships, I would any day cherish all of that. You have to believe in what you're saying and you have to execute the same. And there is no shortcuts. You're coming in to learn something that's really, really deep-rooted in culture. It's not just about dance, it's about your entire physical and mental well-being.
Madhuram Jeevaragam Mapada Sani Dapada Madhuram Jeevaragam Risani Dapa Magare Rima Mama Papada Dasa Sari Sari Magare Sani Dapa Dasari Madhuram